Today's devotion is called Will Our Walk Stir Others to Move? We are on day 100. Can you believe it? And we are on April 10th. And today is my mother's birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. I love you. Today's morning rinse is Genesis 17 through 20. And the featured verse is Genesis 19:14. Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, and said, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city." But he appeared to his sons-in-law to be jesting. How can you joke about that, right? I mean, jesting is kind of a joke, but how did that happen? It's amazing that they thought he was joking. But our morning rinse today includes the story of how God warned about, and then he literally executed the destruction of two very evil cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. So when Abraham found out that God was going to destroy these two cities, he asked God to change his mind, basically. His tactic of negotiating was to plead with God to cease the destruction if there were even a certain number of righteous men who were found there. I mean, can you imagine having such a wonderful relationship with God to where that, if God comes to you and says, "I'm going to destroy this, area or whatever," and you go to him and in and of itself negotiate basically to have God not do that thing. And that's the relationship that Abraham had with God. I just love that so much. And God initially agreed to 50 people. If you look in chapter 18, 23 through 33, that is that whole conversation that Abraham had with God. And so God said, "Okay, I'll agree to 50. Well, Abraham must have known that finding 50 righteous men would be super difficult in such a corrupt area. So he then proceeded to continue negotiating with God all the way down to just 10 people. And unfortunately, Abraham's efforts to save the people did not work. And God was willing to spare destruction, but he could not even find 10 righteous men who would stand for that culture and stand for those two cities and stand on behalf of them. So therefore, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah commenced. And when the angels told Lot about the destruction, they directed him to gather all of his family members and to get out, like leave. For reasons we can only assume, the men to whom Lot's daughters were engaged to did not believe Lot, and in fact, thought that he was joking about the destruction. So why did they think that Lot was joking about such a serious matter? I'm sure that Lot was in distress a lot about how Sodom and Gomorrah's culture and the sin in those two cities. I'm sure that he had voiced his concern and, they knew where he was standing. So for them to think that he was joking, I don't know why that was. If we are not careful, then our environment and the people that we are around and our friends, they will affect our lifestyle and could compromise our faith and could compromise our influence on other people's lives. So the question would be, was Lot's witness potentially so weak that even his daughter's fiancés would not believe him? Or was there just so much corruption that Lot's daughters had no choice in who they were going to marry, and so therefore it is what it is. They married, or they were engaged to people that were anti everything that Lot stood for. I mean, one would think that Lot pleaded in desperation to save their lives, and yet these two men were not influenced at all whatsoever by Lot's imploration. because they thought their father-in-law or future father-in-law was joking with them, they would not even take him seriously. So we must remember how we live our lives is going to affect other people. And while we know that Lot's family was saved, some preachers actually believe that Lot may have lived a compromised life, and it kind of, he was tainted by some of his surroundings. So while he was saved and while he loved God, there are some preachers who believe that he was not at all like Ezekiel was, and preaching against sin and being that only man who stood up in front of hundreds of thousands of people in cities trying to preach repentance. There's some pastors who don't believe that that's what Lot did. He kind of was a compromised, he lived this lifestyle that didn't make other people buy into or want to change their ways. And this lifestyle may have caused his voice, and it may have caused his godly appeal in this moment to be ignored instead of followed by those that he loved, and that by those he would have eventually led as the front runner of his family. Instead of his voice being used to spur others to move, these men stayed behind and were destroyed. We often do not want to face the truth that our choices can affect other people so strongly. Our lifestyle can make others want to move, whether towards God or away from him. And that is kind of a deep, thought process. I mean, when you look at it that way, and when you think of the commentary of really truly Lot's life and some of his choices, and the assumption of some pastors who believe that he wasn't a strong leader, he was living somewhat of a compromised life, that leads me to, like, is there any part of my life that is compromised? Is there any part of my life that causes people to question whether or not they would want to, turn their ways and follow after Christ? So today's challenge to dig deeper is to pray this prayer. God, please forgive all of my poor choices and lack of passion towards you that may have caused others to suffer or move away from you. Help my choices and lifestyle always to be causing others to move towards you, and help me to live my life so that when I speak of you, people believe and they move in the right direction. That prayer is why I titled today's devotion, Will Our Walk Stir Others to Move? It didn't stir Lot's sons-in-law to move and go with them. It did not, Lot's life did not stir those men to want to move with their fiancés. They chose the lifestyle instead of the life of being married to Lot's daughters. And that is such a surreal moment to think that the way that Lot was living could not even bring the sons-in-law marrying into his family. They chose the lifestyle versus the family. And it is just one of those things where, what could Lot have done better? But yet maybe there wasn't a whole lot that he could do, but maybe there was. I mean, he was entrenched in this surrounding. Could he have moved earlier? Could he have gotten out of that area earlier? Could he have chosen to remove himself from these surroundings and from the friends? I mean, obviously he had friends, right? But he was probably, in essence, the most moral person in Sodom and Gomorrah. And yet he was not moral enough to save anyone other than his direct family. In the evening reflection, I want you to pull out your journal and pray that prayer again over you and over your family. Let me just pray that again and remind you what that says. God, please forgive all of my poor choices and lack of passion towards you that may have caused others to suffer or move away from you. Help my choices and lifestyle to always cause others to move towards you. Help me to live my life so that when I speak of you, people believe and move in the right direction. In the midst of you writing in your journal, I want you to write down anything that God is speaking to you about. Write down anything that He is saying, any piece of your life that could appear from God's point of view compromising in your life. You know, a lot of times we as Christ followers, we want to believe that everything that we are doing is holy and acceptable unto the Lord. And we want to believe, and sometimes we even can use excuses or even, make up reasons why our choices are not necessarily choices that are bad for a Christ follower to make, or maybe they're in the gray area of, it doesn't say that I can't do this in the Bible, so it must be okay. And yet that's not always the case. Obviously, God gives us free will. He gives us free will in our choices and in our actions and in our words and the things that we say and do and how we spend our time and money. He gives us free will in all of that. And yet, could there be some portions of that free will that are considered compromising? I mean, look at Lot. God saved Lot. And yet, there's question on what his lifestyle was truly about. He was around sin that whole time. And, like I said, there's some pastors who believe that his life was compromised, that he didn't live a strong enough Christ-following life to even have influence on his sons-in-law. I don't want to be that person. If people think I'm too strict, I'm okay with that. I would rather be erring on a too conservative lifestyle that I know in my heart I'm not compromising than to allow for the world to infiltrate into my life that causes other people to think that I am joking when I speak warnings about God's, judgment or how God views another person's lifestyle, or if I'm ministering to someone, it just is something that I take seriously, so that I don't want the things that I say or do to make others not want to follow after God. And I pray the same thing for you. So if there's anything at all, even a Christ follower, if there's anything at all that you're feeling an unction about, or that God's speaking to you about, that could appear like you are compromising in your faith, or that could cause people to say, I don't know what you're saying, kind of a thing, then talk to God about it. Because we want to be Christ followers who are not only appearing like we are compromised in our faith, but that we are truly making disciples in our world. That's what I want. That's what I want for myself, and that's what I want for you. So will your walk stir others to move in the right direction? I pray that it does in every area of your life. And I believe that it's happening. So I hope today inspired you to continually seek God, to continually dig deep inside your heart, and to continually want to be that light out there, and to really dig deep and keep searching your heart on those compromising behaviors that might cause other people to question or even not believe you when you talk about your faith. I hope that it encourages you. And if you don't have my devotional, you can go to the show notes. The link is in there. And if you wanted to start journaling your thoughts and, your results of your challenges, and you don't have my journal yet, look in the show notes as well, that link, and also come to the Facebook group. Please write in that Facebook group. It's called Rinse, Reflect, Repeat, and write in there some of the things that you are gleaning from the devotional, the podcast, what have you. And let's keep walking through the Bible together and learning together. So until tomorrow, keep rinsing, reflecting, and repeating. God bless you.